As mentioned in the first lesson in this module, argumentation is the sixth historical thinking skill listed by the College Board in the course and exam description for AP World History. However, argumentation is perhaps the most important of these skills, as it is the particular skill that is being assessed by much of the written portion of the AP World History exam. So why is argumentation such an important skill in the teaching of historical topics? Well, not only is it a skill that will serve us well in being able to defend a point of view, but it is also a skill that we can see in use throughout a multitude of important examples from history itself. For example, when a German monk named Martin Luther began to view the church of his day as corrupt and straying from what he as a Bible scholar viewed as biblical truth, he devised a list of 95 different arguments against certain practices of the church in his 95 Theses that he nailed to the door of the Castle Church in Wittenberg, Germany on October 30th, 1517, and began the splitting of Western Christianity with the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. Argumentation was also used by Thomas Jefferson when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, arguing that the King of England had denied Americans their natural rights and had broken the social contract, therefore giving Americans the right to form their own government, making the argument for American independence. Like any good argument, both of these important historical examples began in much the same way, with a thesis statement, or 95 of them in Luther's case. It is also important to remember what a thesis statement actually is. A thesis statement is a brief description of the argument of a text. Such a statement should give direction and purpose to the text. This is where we introduce our claim. This claim, for our purposes, must be in answer to the particular prompt that you are attempting to answer, or the problem. Also, since this statement will be something that someone will be able to either agree or disagree with, it is also good practice to briefly introduce the evidence that will be used in the body paragraphs of the essay in your thesis statement as well. As you will see later, the thesis statement must be clearly written in either the introduction or conclusion paragraphs of your essay, but the introduction is typically best as your thesis provides direction for the rest of your paper. For LEQs and DBQs, you will be awarded 1 point for, in the words of the College Board, responding to the prompt with a historically defensible thesis or claim that establishes a clear line of reasoning. So how may we go about devising a historically defensible claim with a clear line of reasoning? First, remember that your thesis must present an argument. With this in mind, it is important to note that the thesis must respond to the prompt instead of merely restating it, and should be no more than 1 or 2 sentences. It should also be specific and not a vague statement. The more specific you are in your thesis, the clearer your argument will be. This is also why you should introduce your evidence that you will use to defend your argument within the thesis statement itself. An example of a weak thesis statement would be something such as, the raising of taxes was a significant cause of the American Revolution. While taxes imposed on the American colonies was a well-known cause of the revolution, there is no evidence provided within this statement, leaving it vague and unspecific. However, if we introduce our evidence here, we will bring about more specificity. This may look something like the end of salutary neglect with the introduction of new colonial taxes, such as the Stamp Act, Sugar Act, and Tea Act, was seen as a violation of Americans' natural rights and was a significant cause of the American Revolution. Not only does this statement introduce greater detail in terms of naming some of the actual taxes that Americans were angry with in the lead up to the American Revolution, but it also explains that these particular taxes were seen as threatening the rights of Americans. By introducing evidence to expound upon further in the body of the paper, this statement gives greater direction to the essay. It makes it more likely that the writer would receive the point on this section of the rubric. Now that you are more familiar with the process of writing a thesis statement and its importance to the historical thinking skill of argumentation, you may now engage in the practice thesis statement writing activity found within this module. Also, for the future, please note that this is a skill that is important to most every form of writing that you will find on the AP World History exam.